All right, so we are live with everybody. It is 11 o'clock. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes here to make sure that everybody is joining us for the call. We'll give it about 30 more seconds. Thank you all for your patience, and we will begin momentarily. All right. Well, why don't we kick this off? Welcome to our July training call for the real estate agent and loan originator. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us today. I know that, business is very busy right now. Rates are favorable. The markets are, there's still tons and tons of buyers and sellers out there, and we're all doing our thing and moving through our world and through our life and being powerful and being creative and making things happen. So, we want to keep this call really tight. We're going to end no later than 12 o'clock Eastern time. So you can go back and do the things that you were doing and hopefully take away from today's call some thoughts around how you're going to improve the relationships, not only in the business side, but we're going to talk about some concepts here that you can use in business, in friendship, in family, with your partners, with your kids. I believe that's the most politically correct way to say partner now. I want to make sure we're saying that properly. So, what hopefully you're going to take away from today's call is something that is so powerful and so valuable that is going to change the way you interact with human beings and people and be able to move through life in a way that you probably have not done had you not, used some of the techniques that we're going to talk about today. And I want to tell you that what we're going to talk about today it's very simple. It's literally like you're going to have this epiphany, why didn't I think of that? We're not going to talk about something that's going to require weeks and weeks of training. But literally you can get off the call today and you can go meet with a friend, your spouse, your kid, your parent, a business partner, a client, and literally put some of the techniques that we're going to talk about today into action and move them in a way that you just wouldn't have done otherwise. And, it's powerful, it's simple, it's easy, and I think you're going to see a lot of value in it. So one thing that I want to do in today's call is I welcome you to provide us, or myself and my colleague, Rick Shearer and Jake Lester, with some additional material. We're going to talk about couple concepts today, and I'm looking for your feedback. I'm looking for real situations that you have encountered in your life, in your career, with your business partners, your referral partners, your clients, and let us, kind of help you work through that and make suggestions how, if that situation were to arise again, how you would look at it in a different manner, take a different approach to it, and come out with a very powerful outcome instead of something that was less powerful. Because we're all about, creating something together that is wonderful. And as we move through our life, we have the choice of doing it either non-powerfully or powerfully. And, I believe the latter of the two is the way to move through life. And it has, really changed not only my life, but my family's life and my clients and my business partners and my referral partners and everybody that I'm in contact with every day of every week and every year. So I think you're going to see a lot of value in that. So if you have a question, there's many ways that you can, talk with us. You can raise your hand on the bottom of your screen. You can chat, or you can go to the Q&A section ask a question, and Jake is going to be monitoring that Q&A board, and he'll call on me or Rick, or maybe even answer the question himself. Probably you won't have many questions that we haven't heard before as it pertains to what we're going to talk about today. We are in the trenches with you every day. Myself and Rick, as you know, we're both $100 million producers. We work with some of the best real estate agents here in the greater Boston area. And, we've been at, the coaching and training and helping our business partners, our referral partners, realtors, grow their business, whether it be 2 times, 3 times. And, we've encountered many and many situations and hurdles and pitfalls that they've run into. And, we've worked with them to move them through that and get out on the other end and really move through their business more powerfully as a result of doing that. So if you have any questions, if you have any things you want to share with us, if you have a situation that has happened to you, today, last week, last month, and you want some advice as to, how you might be able to incorporate some of the things we're going to talk about today into your life, your business, your relationships, raise your hand. You can also send an email either during or after our call. We'd love for you to do it during the call because we can have you, join us as a panelist, and, you'll be the material for everybody, not only us to serve you, but you'll be serving a community of people that probably have the same issues or situations or have encountered the same things that you have in your career and in your life. And we ask you to, be abundant with your wanting to give back to everybody and help everybody else as well. Because, one of the things that is really important to us as the Aspire community is not only taking, but more importantly, sharing and giving, and always being the material, whether it be myself or Rick or Mark or Jake, being the material, maybe showing some weakness to, provide a positive outcome that helps everybody in our community so everybody can just get better every day. So again, you can reach out to support@aspiremarketingsystems.com. I urge you to click on the Q&A, ask a question. And if you want to jump on with us and you've got a camera in front of you and you are not afraid of speaking to the community, we'd love to have you jump on board and share with us any issues, situations, things that you want some resolution on, and we would love to help you. We're here to serve you for that. So, what I told you at the beginning was we're going to talk about a couple concepts. And we're going to end with how to put these concepts into action today. Whether it be, like I said, speaking with somebody on your team, going back and talking with a family member, or, hitting up a friend after work and having drinks and dinner, and, doing it in a more powerful way and getting a more positive outcome from your meeting, from your relationship, from your, boss, subordinate, or, you might go to your team member, and you're going to get something really positive out of that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a very powerful differentiation between an expectation and an agreement. So we all have expectations of people, and we know that there's many people in our lives that have expectations of us. So as an example, you're a real estate agent. We've got a lot of loan officers on the call, and I'm talking to the real estate agents that when you refer either a title company, an attorney, your lender, a home inspector, an insurance person, a mover, whoever you refer business to in your transaction, whether it be a buy or a sell, you've got a handful of people in your community that you refer to. And most people, unfortunately, have an expectation of what they're looking to receive as an outcome. So an expectation can be, I really want you to do this, or I wanted you to do this in a different way, or I wanted you to call me or talk to me in a different manner. And what I would urge you to consider is, expectations, not only are they weak, meaning they're not really useful, but I would go on a limb as far as and say expectations are actually toxic. They're counterproductive. They create tension and anxiety between the person that you have an expectation with and you. They can often lead to animosity. Like, let me give you an example. Maybe in a prior career, or maybe go back as far as school, or, a situation with a parent, a loved one, or a child. When somebody says to you, I had an expectation that you would do this. So, like, how does that land on you? Well, if you were to say that to somebody else, if I were to say that to you and go, hey, Joe, listen, I had an expectation that you would show up on time to our call. And, that's going to land on him one of many different ways. And as you hear my language and you hear in my voice, you're thinking right now, how would that land on me? And it's probably negative. Like, it's a negative tone, it's a negative connotation. Like, it doesn't set two individuals up for success. Instead, it does the exact opposite. It sets them up for failure. When you constantly have to say to somebody, I expected more of you. I expected you to do this. I had an expectation of you to think or believe or do something that was important to me. And if they didn't do that, what you've basically said to them was, like, you didn't live up to what I wanted you to be. You didn't do what I wanted. You didn't do what was important to me, not taking any regard, potentially, for was it important to the person that you said it to. Use that example. I have an expectation that you show up to our call or to our meeting on time. That's a one-sided goal or desire or need, or, an affinity to have something land or happen for me. Like, I have an expectation of you for me. It really doesn't involve you. As a matter of fact, like I said, it probably puts you on your heels, or puts you into a negative, like, reactive, defensive situation where, moving forward, you're going to look at me and be like, yeah, my boss is a jerk, or, my business partner is, I don't like the way he talks to me. I don't like the way he doesn't involve me in his decisions about what's important to him. Because, quite honestly, what's important to him might not be important to me. And, because I work for him, or, we're friends, or he's referring me business, or vice versa, like, yeah, we just maybe tend to just live with it and, put up with it and settle, which is just so non-powerful. And as we talk about the differences between an expectation and an agreement, I think you're going to see the value and the power in using agreements instead of expectations. So we talked about expectations, one of another or one person of you, really being one-sided. It's, like I said, it's toxic. It creates tension, distress, anxiety, and people dig their heels in and become really resistant to it. So I want you to try this on for size. Instead of having an expectation of somebody where they might not share in what that means to you, is forming an agreement with somebody. So you've heard the word agreement in the past, and you've probably made agreements with people. And, like, I want you to open your mind today and listen to the language that I'm using around agreements, and just know, or give the space to know that there's more to the word agreement than you might have thought about in the past. And I don't mean, opening up Webster's dictionary or, Wikipedia and putting in agreement and seeing what the definition is. But I want you to open your mind to something new and a new way of looking at the term, a specialized term, agreement, and how it could be used very powerfully in your life, in your business, in your career, in your friendships, and with your family. So the important thing to consider with an agreement, unlike an expectation, it is not one-sided. It is co-authored, or it's co-created. So what that means is you don't form an agreement with somebody and it's one-sided, but instead, you can voice your opinion, like, this is what I'm looking for, and you're looking for them to create the agreement with you. Give you feedback as to what they think and how they feel, what you're looking for, what you're looking to obtain, what you're looking to achieve. And is that in alignment with them? And do they want to achieve the same thing? So let's keep something really simple. John, I have an expectation that you show up on time to our meetings, and you haven't been doing that. And, I just want to let you know that, like, I'm not really happy with that. And John's going to be like, yeah, I get it. I hear you. Apparently it's not really that important to me, or else I would have shown up on time. He's not saying this, but he's thinking this, and he's getting really defensive. But, an alternative way, I think the better way of doing this would be to say, John, listen, I would love to form an agreement with you around showing up on time to our meetings, because, you're a very important person to me. And, like, for you to be present during our whole meeting and not 90% of or 80% of it, like, I'm looking for your feedback. Like, I value you as a team member, or I value you as an employee, or I value you as a boss, because you can form an agreement with your boss or coworker or your wife or your child. I value your opinion, your time, your input, and I can't get that if you're not in the meeting. So, like, is there anything, like, more you'd like to add to that? And you're going to uncover some context in creating this agreement. And John says, I drop my kid off at, 9 o'clock every morning, and I rush to the office, and I'm there at 9:15 or 9:10. And I figure, 10 minutes really isn't that important, because I got another 50 minutes with you. And whatever we're going to get out, we're going to get out. So, that's always been good to me. And in creating this agreement, some wonderful things happened. Number one was I stated my intention of the agreement, and that was that I need you, not just want you, I need you to be present for the entirety of our meeting, because you're extremely valuable to me. And, because I find so much value in you being there, now that I understand why you've been late every week, like, let's make some room for that. Why don't we move the meeting from 9:15 to 10:15 so you can be there on time all 60 minutes of our meeting, and we can get the most value out of it together and really move forward in a positive way. And John's like, yeah, I love that. Like, that would just eliminate so much stress and anxiety. And every time you told me, like, I've got this expectation that you do this, like, I felt like, maybe I felt like if I spoke back to you that, you were going to think less of me. Or, if I, answered back to you in a way that you didn't like, then maybe you were going to let me go. So listen, I want to thank you for giving me the space, provide you with context of why I can't be there on time. And the fact that you're willing to move your day and move your schedule and accommodate me to start at 10:15 instead of 10, and we'll spend between 10:15 and 11:15. Like, I love that. I appreciate that. And yeah, you have my word, and I'm going to honor that agreement. And think about what we just did. Creating an agreement with two people that they co-authored together, the boss and John, uncovered a lot of context, find out what's important to one another and why, and why the boss wants John at the meeting and why John couldn't be there. They basically came together, co-created, how it was going to look going forward. And now John's going to show up every day at 10:15, and the boss is going to show up at 10:15, knowing that he's got John for that 60 minutes, and that they're both going to honor their agreement, and they're going to be on time, and they're going to share the 60 minutes together, and everything's going to be wonderful. So, that's just one very, very simple way of forming an agreement. So, I just want to stop for 1 second to see if anybody has any questions around that. Again, very simple, however, extremely powerful. And we're going to talk about, other ways of putting this into use, like using this as an application or as a tool to really move not only other people, but move yourself and your business and your career and your relationships and so forth in a positive way that the outcome, I guarantee, will be 1,000% better in the long term than forming or having an expectation of somebody where there's going to be tension, anxiety, animosity, and quite honestly, failure. So let's give everybody a couple seconds here. Raise your hand, jump on the chat, put a question in the Q&A. Jake will answer any questions we might have. And if you have the desire, we ask that you share with us any life situations that you want to talk through. We'd love to have you on our call today as a panelist. Jake can move you from an attendee to a panelist, and we can have you share, and we'd love to talk about that. So I see nobody has raised their hand. That's okay. Maybe if you think of something, I'm going to give you a couple more opportunities throughout our call to do so. But Rick?
Rich?
Yes.
Am I coming in?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, hey, I'd love to, dude, I love, what you've kind of shared and teed everything up here. And of course, as I start talking, my dogs start barking, which is awesome. One of the things that, I just wanted to talk about is how do people, the beauty of working from home, how do people as real estate agents and loan officers put this into action inside their business? And it really comes down to, people with teams, right? People that manage other people, buyer's assistants and scheduling assistants and coordinators and all that type of thing, right? And it's when people have expectations of their employees and don't have clear communication around that. I hear a lot from a lot of real estate agents that want to build teams and say, you know what, I'm on my 5th assistant. It's just not working out. They're not that good, or they're coming out with all these things around that person. And when we talk about this concept to them around, hey, have you made agreements? Have you brought that into your management style? And they're like, no, I told them it was important for me to call the client. They didn't call the client till 5 o'clock, and it doesn't work for me. And it's like, well, you got to look at your language. You got to look at, you had the expectation of that assistant they were going to call by 5. They were going to call, I don't know when, right? But sooner than 5. And that's where the thing in your body that pit in your stomach happened. But man, if you were just to clean up that communication, that language, and had a co-authored agreement around what time they want to call that client, it just cleans up that whole conversation, that whole experience. And anyway, I just wanted to bring it into where real estate agents and loan officers, it's like, just because you're a high producer doesn't mean you're a great manager. And this concept that you're discussing today is huge, because it can make a big producer a great manager as long as they're keeping that language and the language clean. So anyway, I just wanted to jump in and add that.
Yeah, thanks for adding that additional color. So, we talked about It could be with a family member, it could be with a friend, a colleague, a team member, somebody in your office. Maybe it's not even on your team. Maybe somebody that's coming to the office every day is doing something you just don't like. And you could have an expectation like I would expect you not to do this. But forming an agreement with somebody is going to go a lot further. It's a lot more powerful. So yeah, thanks for adding that. And, for those of you who have teams, and Rick and I both have teams, it has been like a real game changer in working with our staff and our teams, our business partners, and also extensions of our business. The real estate agents that we work with, the attorneys that we work with, people within our organization, forming agreements with people keeps things tight instead of loose. And things happen the way we want them to happen. When I say we, I mean both sides of the agreement. I don't have an expectation as to, when things are going to be underwritten or how my real estate agent is going to refer business to me or how I'm going to keep them in the loop. But we have an agreement up front, so it's really tight. Like they know exactly how things are going to happen and like we're both going to perform for one another. And it's just an amazing thing instead of, somebody calling me up and saying, I expected you were going to give me more than a weekly update on our client. Or, I say, I had an expectation that you were going to introduce me by email and not just send the client, my cell phone number or my home number. So they're calling me at home. Yeah, that just doesn't work for me. But if we had a verbal or even sometimes a written agreement as to what's important to one another, and we co-create that together, that's really powerful. So, how does this relate as well to your business, real estate agents, with respect to, what we have really coached around and trained around, and that is the real estate buyer's playbook. And, you've got this valuable asset and you can thank your loan officer for, taking the time and spending the money and going through the training and, bringing this opportunity to you to really leverage your relationships with your, preferred business partners, with the community of people that you refer business back and forth from. So, we've talked on other calls, what's the perfect size group of preferred business partners to have in the back of your book? Well, it's quality, not quantity. We've got Lori and Rich Primrose out of Idaho. They are on their way to having close to 40 or 50 people in their book. And these are not just, casual relationships. In the past, we've talked about casual versus intentional. Casual means loose, like it's non-performing. It could happen great by happenstance, but not by design. It's basically, management or relationship by chance. Whereas being intentional and having a desire for a specific outcome is going to yield you a much better result unless you're just lucky every single day of the week. If you've got the old golden horseshoe, as we say. So how do you use agreements with your preferred business partners, with your CPA, your financial planner, your landscaper, the builder that refers you business? We've talked about, creating service level agreements or service levels, things that are important to you and them. A couple calls back, we had Jen on the call. And, Jen, if you remember, talked about a situation where she sat down with her builder and, her builder is referring her business and she's referring the builder business. She's looking how to, escalate that relationship, take that relationship to the next level, get from more of a casual relationship to more of an intentional or committed relationship. And what Jen did, she sat down with her builder, I think his name was John, as a matter of fact. And she said, John, listen, I'd like to form an agreement with you around, how we are going to refer business back and forth to one another. And, they met over at lunch for about an hour. And she said, so here are the things that are important to me when you refer me. And like, I'd love to hear what's important to you when I refer you. And if you remember from the call, she has this expectation that when she refers John, or anybody for that matter, that that person getting the referral is going to get back to her client within, an hour or maybe 3 hours, but, nothing less than the same day. And, John said, boy, thanks for sharing with me that you want me to get back to your client within 24 hours, but, I'm a builder. And, I usually do that stuff, Friday to Sunday, thinking about new clients and getting back to people, because during the week, like, I'm working, 6 in the morning till 5 at night, and then I've got to do invoices and so forth. And, I just assumed I could get back to your client, at the end of the week, which if you got the referral on Monday, that's 5 days away. If you got it on Wednesday, it was 3 days away, but it didn't meet her expectation of 24 hours. And, we talked about expectations being, kind of loose, and forming an agreement with John tightened that up a little bit. And what that did was, allowed the two of them to form this agreement, not only on how and when they're going to get back to one another, but the level of service they're going to provide, the language they're going to use, the level of professionalism, the time that they're going to call their client, and the times in which they're not going to call their client. Like, what is their busy time versus what is their slow time? What is their free time versus what is their off the clock time, their personal time? Because they want to respect one another's boundaries. And, fast forward this a little bit. She formed an agreement with John, and I think they had 9 or 10 bullet points that were important to one another, that they both agreed upon together, because they co-created what those things were. Remember, not one-sided, not an expectation, but John shared with Jen what was important to him. Jen shared with John. They agreed upon now understanding what each other wants and needs to be successful. And at the end of the day, shook hands and formed an agreement. And moving forward, not only did they each refer more business, but better business, and they referred it in the way that each and other wanted to receive that business. So the outcome, again, was umpteen percent, 1,000%, 500%, 200%, extremely more successful had she just had an expectation, and vice versa of one another. So she can now not only double the amount of referrals she's getting from John and giving John, but the quality of the referrals and the quality of the service that they can give to one another has now been taken to the next level. Do you see the power in that? Does anybody have any questions around that? If not, we can move on. Again, hit the Q&A or the chat. We'd love to have you on our call, whether you want to be a panelist or we can just answer your question live on the call. But I'd love to hear, examples of situations that have happened to you either in the past or as recent as last week, where, I've heard real estate agents say, I've referred this painter 7 times and I've never gotten a referral back from them. Like I had a field day with that. I said to that real estate agent, well, have you ever sat down with that painter and, create an agreement with him around what type of client he's looking for? Have you ever considered just uncovering some context in his life and finding out exactly what type of client he's looking for, how he wants to be referred, the size of the job, what you want that person and how they're going to respond to your client? Do you need him to get back to within 5 minutes? Is getting back to him next week acceptable to you? Like, have you ever had that conversation with him? Well, no. I mean, I've been working with this guy for, 4 years. I've sent him at least 7 clients this year alone. No, I've never actually had that conversation with him. And I would urge that real estate agent to go, have a meeting, have an upgraded meeting with that painter and find out like what's getting in the way of her not giving him more referrals, and in turn, what's stopping him from giving her referrals. I love the story, and I might butcher this a little bit, but it's so worth mentioning again. A relationship that Rick has with one of his real estate partners, and her name's Linda. And if you've heard this story, you're going to hear it again because it's so powerful. And if you haven't, I urge you to think about maybe a situation or somebody in your life that this might have happened with, and you're going to have this aha moment. And Linda had been referring this CPA, and he's a great CPA, for several years. I don't know the exact number, but probably 4 or 5 times a year she's referred this CPA. And when Rick sat down with her and introduced her to the playbook a couple of years ago, she was like, oh my God, the first person I'm going to go meet with is my CPA. Because quite honestly, Rick, I'm telling you, I've given him so many referrals and I've never gotten one referral from him. And now, like, this has given me the opportunity and, the ability to go be with him in a way that I've never done before. Like, I love this way of upgrading our relationship, like having an upgraded meeting. And I'm going to go be with him in a way and find out like why he's not giving me referrals. Like maybe he doesn't think I'm a good real estate agent, or maybe, he just doesn't understand how to refer, or like I could have a million different stories in my head, but like, I don't know the reason why. So long story short, Linda went and met with the CPA, sat down with him, showed him the playbook, talked about, service levels and, expectations versus creating an agreement with him. And it was a great meeting. At the end of the meeting, the CPA said to Linda, I love you. I think you're a phenomenal real estate agent. I love all the referrals you've been giving me. I hope I've been doing a really good job, but you understand I can't refer you. And she's like, well, can we talk about that? Like, what am I doing wrong? Or what could I do better that you would consider me as your go-to real estate partner? And he said, well, my wife's a real estate agent. Boom, like mic drop, right? Like, I remember Rick telling me the story, and like, I just got goosebumps thinking about how he worked with his real estate partner, Linda, and, enabled her to go out and be with her CPA that she's known for 7 years or 6 years or something, probably given him a few dozen referrals of great quality people, to find out that, somebody in her community that she's giving referrals to has no intentions of ever referring her business. And let's face it, business is business, friendship is friendship. We work with people that we trust and know. And listen, if we can benefit and help grow the businesses of others around us, we would hope that they would at least consider us in return. And, after that meeting, Linda had gone and networked with a couple other CPAs that she knew and was introduced to and has known over the years, went out with the same, meeting and intention of creating a relationship, and brought the playbook with her. And, it's been a couple years now, and she's now working with another CPA that has referred her 2 or 3 transactions a year since. So, I love sharing that story. I talk about that story often. We all have a lot of these stories, if you will, that we carry around with us. That one in particular is really special because, what Rick did for his real estate partner was enabled her to really change her relationships, her career, the business that she does. And I think, last I checked in with Rick about this, she was up about 80% over where she was last year. So, that's just incredible. So, what I want you to think about is the relationships that you have in business, your preferred business partners, the people that know, love, and trust you, and that you trust them. They do a good job. They're fair. They're inexpensive. They show up when they show up, or they show up when they are supposed to show up. They perform. And of the people in your community that, are not meeting your expectations, because we know that's weak, like think about going and setting up a meeting or two a week with those people and being intentional around your relationship with them, and having a defined outcome, what you and they would both like to achieve as a result of taking your relationship to the next level, and going and being with them, uncovering context, asking a whole bunch of questions that might be important to them, and you can share things that are important to you, and going out and forming an agreement with them around how you're going to refer business back and forth with one another. And I guarantee you, like, this is a promise, that in doing so and using language, powerful language, and elevating your relationship with that person to a higher level, escalating it to a new normal, you will get results. Those results are going to come in the form of many ways. We know through experience, through years and years of doing this and coaching around agreements, is we know that you will generate more referrals from that individual. And if not, there's going to be a reason why you're not. And it's going to allow you to go be with a different person in that trade or in that industry or that has that same career that you align with more than the person you're currently working with or not working with. And it's going to improve the amount of referrals, increase the amount of referrals that you receive. It's going to increase the amount and types of referrals that you're able to give. And what you're doing is you're moving relationships from casual to committed, or casual to intentional, where the outcome is defined. The whole concept around the playbook, or 90% of it, in the business building, referral partner, formation and creation of committed relationships, is, allowing real estate agents to think outside the box a little bit. And instead of looking for, we always talk about the term fish versus the fisherman, looking for the fish, looking for the client, the next deal, the buyer, the seller, the one that's going to list, the one that's going to buy, but getting really committed with 10, 20, 30, 50 people in your community that are going to think of you first when it comes time to a referral of somebody they know looking to buy or sell real estate in the towns or neighborhoods you do business in. So we've got about 15 minutes left. We've talked about expectations and how they're loose and they just don't work. And we've talked about agreements and how powerful those can be, not only in business, but in our social lives, in our teams, with our kids, or just with people that we interact with, in our community on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I urge you to go out and try this. We like to use the term, try it on. Try it on and go be creative with it. And go be with somebody that, maybe you don't have such a powerful, two-sided, agreed upon relationship with, that you either have expectations of them of performing or they of you, and go create an agreement with them, a real simple one. Like, I would like to form an agreement with you that does this. And, listen and get their feedback, and you're going to end up co-creating what the outcome is going to look like. And I ask you to, do your homework this week. So take one person in your life, in your sphere, in your family, and go create a simple agreement with them. And we want your feedback. Send us an email to support@aspiremarketingsystems.com. Let us know how it went. We would love for you to get on the Facebook page and share with us the experience. And, there could be some risk in me asking you to do this and go share with everybody in the community, because if you had a negative, a negative experience of it, like I'm here telling you about something that's so powerful, you're going to go off and do it and have a negative experience around it. And that wouldn't be good for our community. But I am so confident, like 1,000% confident, that if you go just start really simple, do your homework, go be with one person this week, form a very simple agreement, and watch what happens. I guarantee you the experience will be positive. The outcome will be incredible. You will begin to see the value firsthand, the power in forming agreements with individuals, people that are close to you in your life, work, sphere, relationships, family, that you will want to adopt creating agreements with everybody in your life. I hope that you never, moving forward, ever have expectations of anybody again. And it's going to take time. Like if you went through life and you had expectations of everybody, like I guarantee you there will be failure. However, if you had no expectations of anybody, and if people that you interact with every day never had an expectation of you, but instead you formed agreements. So it can't just be the lack of expectations, but it's got to be the abundance of agreements. If you had multiple agreements, albeit either verbal or in writing, depends on the situation, depends on the agreement, depends on the person. But if you form agreements with people and replace every expectation with an agreement, it is going to have such a positive impact on your life that it will move you to another level that you can't even imagine, and you will never know it until you experience it. And we're going to start this experience with this experiment of this homework of you going out this week and forming one very simple agreement with somebody in your life. And I want to hear. We want your feedback. We want to know how that went. I urge you, let us know. You'd be on the next call, but I urge you not to wait that long. Send us an email. We'd love a video recording. Maybe we can use that on our next call. We'd love to make you a panelist to talk about your experience. We'd love to have you on our Facebook if you just want to put it in writing, or if you want to go as far as creating a simple 30-second video and let us know about your experience. Like, I'm asking you to, step to the plate here and really be willing to give back and provide, some context to our whole community, hundreds of agents around the country that are experiencing relationships the same way that you do and are not experiencing them in a way that they could. Like they're just leaving so much on the table. Like when my son played ball, I would tell him, when you cross that line to go onto the field, leave it all on the field. Like, don't walk in there sick. Don't walk in there hurt. Don't walk in there thinking, oh, we're going to lose to this team. Like, I want you to walk across that line, and when you get on the field, leave it all on the field. And know that when you walk off the field that you did everything possible to have the most positive outcome you can. So I use that analogy because this week I want you to go create an agreement with somebody and just don't do it haphazardly. Have intention around it. Like, be committed around what you want the outcome to look like. Leave it all on the field. And you are going to have a positive experience that is going to give you this aha moment. And you're going to remember this call, and you're going to wonder why you haven't done this in the past. And maybe because you just weren't, in tune or aware of the word agreement in a different way than you've always thought of an agreement to be used. And I promise you, it will move you in a way that you will then consider forming agreements with everybody in your life, because it will just elevate who you are, what you do. And if it's around business, it will have a positive impact on your business. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to ask my co-founder, Rick or Jake, if you guys have anything to add, anything you want to share with our real estate agent and or loan officer community today, and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, man. Really love how you've been, sharing the concept of agreement versus expectation. So one of the things that was pivotal in my education on this concept was a 30-minute audio clip from a guy named Steve Chandler. Now, this guy's written, I think, over 30 books on how to be a leader and be an effective leader. And what I want to do is offer out to the community the 30-minute audio clip that I use when I'm coaching loan officers and real estate agents, that I use when really introducing the concept, because I think, he's a little dry in his approach, but the information that he's giving, just like you, Rich, is so powerful and it makes so much sense. Like you said, expectations are toxic. Listen, my mom's got a lot of expectations on me, right? That you're going to call me on Sunday. I had no idea that you wanted me to call you on Sunday. And that was the first person that I used this on. And one other thing that is really great when you can understand the concept and how it's used, especially in your business, is, Rich and I have an assistant, and his name is Nick. And you know what? He's probably the hardest working, besides Jake, the hardest working millennial that we have. And during the interview process, we introduced this concept around agreements versus expectations. And, after explaining it to him how when we want, or we're looking for something to be done, that we're going to use our language to make sure it can be done in the time period that we want, right? So can you call this client by 3:00 today? He looks at what he's got going on. He's going to make a determination at that point in time. Can I call that client by 3:00 today? And when he comes back and says, well, boss, I got 3 things here in front of it. If you want me to move one of these, I can certainly do that. And that gives us the ability to have that conversation and make adjustments. And he's like, man, that's a great way to operate, because it makes my job easier, because now I know the hierarchy of everything, right? And we've got this whole concept so down pat in our office that oftentimes when, Rich and I are running out for a meeting and we say, hey, Nick, hey, man, could you please, do this for us? He comes right back to us and says, what time do you need it by? Oh yeah, that's right. I was loose with my language, right? I was loose with my communication to you, and you're cleaning me up right now. And so, yeah, man, it'd be great if you get by 2. Is that something that you can do? And then again, it's back and forth. And then the cool part about it is Rich and I walk around our world knowing that that's going to happen by 2:00, like Nick said. And if it doesn't happen, he's going to do 3 things. He's going to come clean, re-promise, and clean up his mess. And so what that means is, if Nick's girlfriend gets a flat tire and at 1:00, and she calls him and says, I need your help, I'm on the side of the road. When he's obviously not going to call the client back by 2:00, but what he's going to do before running up the door is he's going to come clean. Hey boss, I can't get it done by 2:00. He's going to clean up his mess. He's going to text the client. He's going to email the client, let the client know that he's going to get a call by 4:00, right? And re-promises by 4:00. And if that is constantly happening, then it just frees us up as leaders, as producers, to just know we can count on our people. And if it doesn't happen, if none of that happens, he runs out the door, the client doesn't get called, all we're doing is addressing his integrity around the word that he gave us. It's not an emotional thing. It's not a thing that we can get angry about. It's just something that we have to address to make sure it just doesn't happen again. So again, we can be back in integrity around that relationship, on that that partnership. So what I want to do is offer out to anybody that wants it, that just email Jake, support@Aspire Marketing. Let me get you the 30-minute clip out to you. And I think what it'll do is it'll tie a bow around this concept that we're talking about, And like Rich has said over and over again, it's going to allow you to bring it into your work life, your personal life, with your kids, that type of thing. And it's going to really clean up a lot of your relationships and a lot of your communication. And when you get everybody in your life understanding, the difference between expectation and agreement, they'll hold you accountable as well. And again, it's just going to make things a lot easier for you. So that's all I really wanted to say. I mean, you did a great job really explaining it, and hopefully people got some great takeaways.
That's great. Thank you for that, Rick. And Jake, do you have anything to add before we leave our call today?
No, thank you both. Did a great job.
All right, great. Well, listen, I want to thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. I know you are extremely busy, and we are here to serve you. And if you have any questions regarding our call today, if you want the audio clip that Rick talked about, send us an email, support@aspiremarketingsystem.com. Reach out to us, jump on the Facebook, and if you would, don't be casual around it. Be committed to it. I ask you that is do your homework for us this week and go find one person somewhere in your life, form an agreement with them, and we want your feedback. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you have a great weekend. It's going to be a hot one, at least up here in the Massachusetts area. But wherever you are, from California to Florida to Maine, we hope you have a fantastic weekend and keep doing it. Talk to you soon.